Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Tell It to Trevor. I'm your host, Trevor Shelley, and today on my podcast I have.
Channing, the real McCoy, Melton.
Alright, what sparked your interest in the professional wrestling industry?
Yeah, I think my story is pretty much the same as most of people. I would watch it with my grandfather a lot. When my parents would drop me off to the countryside for visits and vacations, him and me and my grandmother would watch wrestling all the time. So I watched a lot of WCW. That was my grandfather's favorite brand.
Yeah. It's so funny story with WCW. My dad dated one of the producer's daughters of
Oh yeah,
WCW. So he used to go to the bars with Ric Flair, the Four
hmm
Horsemen, Sting, and
yeah.
all of them. So
One of my trainers, Lodi, is actually a WCW guy.
yeah, waiting to get Lodi on. I've talked to him a whole
Oh
lot,
yeah, yeah, he's a great guy.
especially at AML.
Yeah.
Um, who were the wrestlers you idolized as a kid?
So the number one guy is the guy I saw growing up. His first match I saw, is I can remember vague memories of it, but I was thinking maybe I was two. He'll forever be my favorite wrestler, Ultimo Dragon. Him versus Chris Jericho, 1994.
Okay,
Uh, he didn't win that match, but the colors just stood out to me. And I was a little kid that I like. We as little kids, boys, we like mysterious things like ninjas, people who look like superheroes. And ever since then, he's been my number one guy, no matter what. No matter my Mount Rushmore has Ultimo Dragon on it.
okay. How did you get started in the wrestling world?
So I got that wrestling buzz watching it. After I finished high school, I was always like, man, one day I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna look into it.
Yeah,
I saw some schools that were around my area. High Spots was the closest. It was 10 minutes away from me, and I just said, well, there's no excuse. Ended up going in there and learning, uh, becoming a student. So I started with my original trainer was George South. So I had him, Caleb Conley, as one of my trainers, Patrice Coleman, and I got there maybe like I think 2 years later. That's when Cedric Alexander got signed to WWE. But I started out at High Spots, and I was still like gun shy going to training. I was one of those guys putting it off all the time.
okay. Um, what was your first match like?
So my first match was a tag team match in Seagrove, North Carolina,
Okay,
and it was me and Dre White. We had Piedmont Pit Bulls,
yeah,
and one of the guys who on the team on the Pit Bulls, Samir Locklear or Lockhart, yeah, Locklear, excuse me. He's I consider him my vet. We just became real close after that match, and he's one of the guys I just talk to. I just reach out to random day in the middle of the week. I'll just say, hey, how's everything going? He'll
yeah,
shoot me a message doing the same thing. But as far as the match, I'd say I was told I did better than most people in their starting match, but
yeah,
that's due to a lot of procrastinating and not getting in when I probably should have got in.
yeah. Um, what are your goals for the future in the wrestling business?
My so I'd be lying if I said I don't have the same goals as everybody else. Everyone's ultimate dream in wrestling,
Yeah,
WWE. Yeah, so that's the default answer. But if I were to put like a short-term answer, I honestly would love to wrestle in Mexico. You know,
yeah,
CMLL is just it's something that stands out there to me. I just I love lucha style wrestling. Even
yeah,
though I don't deem myself as athletic, or at least not able to pull off the things that luchadors do. but I would absolutely love to be able to make it out there and just work as hard as I can to try to work as a luchador.
Yeah. Can you describe your wrestling persona or character for the fans around the world?
So my persona is literally just me dialed to 1,000. So everything you hear me say in the ring, out of the ring, day to day life, there's literally no difference between me and my character other than at my shoot job, I have scrubs on. At wrestling, I have wrestling tights on. So if people that know me, I don't want to use the word urban. I'm someone who grew up around the streets, within the streets. So a lot of my mannerisms carry over on the mic, in my style, moving around in the ring. So it's not really much of a difference in trying to separate those two. So let's say, I don't want to use any real out there examples, but I'd say I'm like a watered down Crime Time,
Okay.
watered down JTG and everything.
Can you share a memorable moment from your wrestling career so far?
I would say the most memorable thing I had in my wrestling career wasn't even at a show. It was in training. Um, so I used to be a guy that would procrastinate and put off going to
Yeah.
training. I'd go to one night a week, never try to go to any of the advanced classes, but a couple years after seeing other people come in and just progressing past me, I was like, man, I gotta start getting serious. I gotta start taking this a lot more seriously. So I started committing to the gym and going to training all the time. And one night in training, I want to say it was a JD Drake class. We did this thing where we were acknowledging everyone for, things they've done. And I was the first one he acknowledged. And he pointed to me and said that, hey, I want to take a moment first to acknowledge Channing. He is the most improved in this class overall. Not the
Yeah.
best in the class, but he said from where he was when I first met him, a guy who couldn't do anything or tie his boots, he just put me over and he told me how proud he was of me. And he tells me time to time when I talk to him and text him. So I think any moment where JD is just letting me know how proud he is of me would be something that, I put on top of just even winning like a championship match. I prefer to have JD Drake's approval over anything.
Yeah. Um, can you describe the feeling of winning your first championship?
So I think so. That's a spectrum in my head because you have places that aren't really acknowledged when you wrestle,
Yeah.
places that are. It's if I'll say ACW is the first place where I'm currently at now, where I won my first championship, tag team title that I'm holding now with Xavier Maxim. When we beat Blood and Rust for them back in November,
Yeah.
it for me it was not a sense of, oh, look at how good I am. It was more of a sense of, hey, the promoter trusts me to take these belts. The guys that I beat trusted me to make sure that beating them isn't something that went to waste. And the overall acknowledgement of it and the go ahead, take them is more important to me, more valuable to me than actually having the belts.
Yeah. Um, how do you handle the mental and emotional aspects of wrestling?
So I haven't had too many times where I've just been overwhelmed or frustrated.
Yeah.
I think more of things outside of wrestling that that keep me from getting to training or getting to the show on time or more of a hindrance to me than anything. I mean, I've had some nights it shows where it's a little bit complex, a little bit of some hurdles to call things or even
Yeah.
communicate with who I'm working with. Um, but I, overall, I can't even I can probably count on one hand the times that I've experienced that, and I feel like that was an isolated incident. But
Yeah.
I think I could have handled that incident better. But I got lucky that the promoter, he knew the ins and outs of what was going on. And I think now having that incident, I know how to, address people and acknowledge some issues instead of just jumping the gun and taking things in my own hands.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna start this segment called Trev Shot. It's where you
All
got
right.
50 seconds to answer 6 questions.
Hmm.
All right. Let me get my timer pulled up. All right. So after I read the first question, the timer will start.
All right.
All right. So you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Favorite pre-show snack.
Pre-show snacks, Sour Patches.
Favorite pre-show song.
Um. Ghost Queen by Death Thought.
Favorite wrestler growing up.
Ultimo Dragon.
Favorite sports team.
New York Giants.
Favorite color.
Red.
Favorite type of music.
Trap music.
Okay. So you beat it with 30 seconds remaining. Let's see. What are the biggest challenges of being a professional wrestler outside of the ring?
I'll say so. If we're saying the you said biggest chances other than outside, as far as like inside the ring.
No, biggest challenges.
Oh, outside of the ring, you said.
Yeah,
Oh, really just being able to try to find that balance. Um,
yeah,
especially being able to balance, you know, professional life, personal life, social life. I guess that would go with personal, but I took a lot of what Rayhan Antaya said years ago when I talked to him. Shout out to Rayhan. Him and Savannah are like older siblings to me. If it
okay,
wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't have taken the steps I've taken. But I was able to. He told me like, hey, you gotta, if you want to do this, keep doing it. Find things that are going to work with your life. Make some things, some changes, move things around because wrestling's not going to wait for you.
yeah,
You gotta. I mean, he honestly bullied me into figuring some of these things out, and I appreciate him for it. I tell him all the time. So, but it was always trying to find that balance between being able to live, I guess you want to say, dual lives.
yeah. How do you feel about the business side of wrestling and how promotions shape the storylines?
Could you repeat that?
Yeah. How do you feel about the business side of wrestling, and then how do you feel about promotion shaping the storylines?
So when we're, I I can't speak on the business part because 9 times out of 10 I have no idea what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah,
I'm just sending messages to promoters. They're reaching out to me sometimes, or I get a reference. So I'm still trying to navigate that and figure out the best way to, you know, put myself out there.
yeah,
And when it comes to, promotions with the storylines, I just do what I'm told essentially, hope for the best, hope they appreciate whatever that I do and what I can bring to the table. Every once in a while, I may say, hey, do you think that I could do this? Would you like something else? Do you want
yeah,
to spin on it? But overall, I'm still green in all this, and I'm just doing everything I can to even try to understand the business side of wrestling.
yeah. Um, and then how do you feel about um promotions shaping the storylines?
So when you said promotion shaping the storylines, I think I was touching on that when I said, um, I'm, I really couldn't speak on it because I just do what I'm asked.
Yeah.
Not really something I even know anything of. That's something that'd be out of my scope to even try to navigate around. I haven't been at enough places and spoken to enough people to understand why they want to make a story a certain way or what they see versus what I see or what the fans see.
Yeah. If you could wrestle any legendary wrestler from the past, who would it be and why?
So I can say this because he was my great uncle, Luther Lindsay. Real name is Jacob Goodall. Um, so I've taken his style and tried to add to it. He's a submission wrestler.
Yeah.
But a lot of people want to say all different legends that aren't really that are very well known of. But my uncle wasn't too known of, but he's in the Hall of Fame. But I would not 10 times out of 10, that's who I'd want to wrestle.
Okay. If if you could attend a wrestling seminar session with any wrestler, who would you pick?
So because I'm not going to go to the cop out because by default I'll just pick Ultimo Dragon.
Yeah.
But if I could go to a seminar, I've been to a Bobby Fish seminar. I would love to go back to another one. If I, but because I've already been there, I'd have to say I would like a Matt Riddle seminar.
Okay.
I love his style. I love being able to add actual martial arts, mixed martial arts, and things from all over, different types of combat styles to pro wrestling.
Yeah. Um, and if you could have any legend mentor as your, I mean, a wrestling legend as your mentor, who would you choose?
So I'll use another family member because I have two family members that were WWE Hall of Famers. I
Okay.
would definitely want to use Junkyard Dog, Sylvester Ritter, um, just because I've seen the Dark Side of the Ring story,
Yeah.
and I would love to. I've seen a lot of those from different legends, but knowing that it's something that happened within my family tree, I would love to pick his brain. I want his version of everything. That way, I know how to navigate certain situations and scenarios if I'm ever, lucky enough to be in a successful position like he was.
Yeah. Let's next question. What is your opinion on the wrestling crossover events with other sports or entertainment industries?
I so I love, when two different types of media intertwine. So I love seeing like other sports teams support each other from baseball, crossing over with anime, from basketball players to being at sporting events like football games or wrestling games. I think it just shows that there's a bigger scope than what we are used to. It
Yeah.
doesn't just have to be, hey, I don't have to just be a football fan who likes the NFL. I can be a football fan and I can go and watch some pro wrestling. I can be a pro wrestler. I can go to a boxing event. I can show other sides of me because I think a lot of people, when they see someone in a profession or a career, they think that there's just one side of that person, which my personality isn't all wrestling. My personality isn't all being a nurse. I have more to me than just those two lines.
What advice would you give to an aspiring wrestler?
Um, Shut the fuck up and listen. That's the only thing that's all you gotta do. Shut the fuck up. Listen to whatever the coach says. Listen to the vet, and everything else will fall in place.
Yeah. Can you talk about a significant rivalry you had and how it helped you grow as a wrestler?
Significant what now?
Rivalry you had and how it helped you grow as a wrestler.
I will say my rivalry with the character slash promoter of ACW.
Okay.
Um, because the fucking promoter. the fucking GM, the manager, he's fucking trying to screw over the Anthem. He he doesn't want the Anthem to win. He doesn't want us to keep our belts. Prove him wrong every single time. But
Yeah.
on the other end, Chance is a great guy. He's given me so much range to say what I want within the bounds of good taste on the mic during my promos. Um, he tells me every time that he loves them. Uh, he asked me, "How'd you come up with this?" And I just say, "Man, just stuff that pops in my head." I think me having beef with an authority figure is more telling of myself as a person and things that are reflected in my actual life.
Yeah. What was it like working with a particular wrestler you clicked with in the ring with?
So there's two people. Um, man, I actually three. It's hard to narrow it down because I'm CJ Evans and I have been in the ring against each other as a tag team, but locking up with him, I just felt like I've done this 1,000 times.
Yeah.
It seems so familiar. I'd say the same thing about Robert Allen. That's someone. I mean, I could just go in there, put him in a headlock, and we can work a 20-minute match just throwing out absolutely everything at each other.
Yeah.
Um, and then I'd have to say Xander Keys, who was probably in my career a more notable opponent as far as championship opportunities. Um, we told the typical American versus angry foreigner story at FWE. I got some compliments on it. Between those three, it'd be hard to narrow it down. But if I had to say anybody, it'd be Robert Allen.
Robert Allen. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, can you describe your training process and what was the most challenging part of learning to wrestle?
I would say at first I thought it was the blow up drills. Nope. It's thinking, coming up with stuff on the fly.
Yeah.
Because shit goes wrong and you got to call an audible. Sometimes you have to go, you got to punch somebody in the face for real. Because you can't just stand there, look like a fucking goofball. So, um, I've definitely, I think I've improved on that 1,000 times over. Instead of, I never have frozen in the ring in front of the show, but training, I've stood there and like, oh, shit, what do I do now? Um,
Yeah.
do I tell them to start over? No, you can't tell them to start over in a match. Do something. So, being able to just go out there and, just about here's the term for it, it worked. Just go out there and work.
What's what hobbies bring you joy outside of the ring?
So like most of the wrestlers, I'm a gym rat. I love being in the gym. Obviously, I'm here now. Um, in my spare time, if I'm not trying to be athletic, I may, playing with my son. Um, I'm a big comic book nerd, so I'm sitting reading comics, collecting Funko Pops, watching the same anime from 20 years ago over and over again. Uh, or I'm sitting trying to figure out a way to get in my macros.
What is your favorite gear that you've ever had made?
So I only have one set of gear right now. Just right now it's just a time and money thing, but my current gear is very reminiscent of Pentagon, who's one of my favorite wrestlers also. So it's the cloth in the front and the back, very very ninja-esque gear. I plan on getting more gear made like it, just different colors. Not trying to emulate him, I just love the gear style.
Yeah. Um, and then where can they find you on social media?
So because I don't pay attention to my handles, both my TikTok and Instagram are that cool guy with a K. But They're underscore. So that underscore cool guy on Instagram and that cool underscore guy on TikTok.
Yeah.
I'm active on Instagram more than anything.
All right. And then thank you for being on the podcast today.
Yep. Man, thank you for having me.
And then, guys, huge shout outs to the sponsors of Apple City Championship Wrestling, Wrestling Evolution, and TBD Wrestling. And then there's a t-shirt contest for the wrestlers and fans on the link tree. Click on the wrestlers or the fans one if you're a wrestler that's been on the show. Hit wrestlers if you're a fan, but also a wrestler that has not been on the podcast. Hit the fan, and then pick which design you want out of 5. We had a professional company design it for us, all 5 logos, and then just click shirt size, your name, and then your Instagram, so we can let you know if you won. All right, and see you guys next time.